Hello, ciao a tutti. This is Papilla ASMR. Welcome to this tutorial on how to make the perfect coffee at home with a moka pot, just like Italians do. So to make this very intense, very strong coffee, you need, obviously you need what Italian call a moka pot. And this has nothing to do with a coffee and chocolate based drink served in the UK and other places, although they probably have the same origin. The name Moka, in fact, is derived from the city with the same name in Yemen, which is a famous coffee marketplace. Then you would also need one of these tiny coffee cup or espresso cup with a saucer and a teaspoon. Again, this is because the coffee is so strong that you definitely don't want to fill up a mug with it, and you just want to have a tiny amount. And of course we're going to need water and ground coffee. If you are going to grind the coffee yourself, which would be the ideal option, it needs to be coarser than the one you would use for coffee machines espresso. Today, as you can see, I will use Illy coffee, which is 100% Arabica. So, generally speaking, on the sweet and fruity side. For the cremina, or sweet coffee emulsion, let's say, you'll need a small bowl or a cup like this one, and a teaspoon to mix it, as well as the first drops of coffee that will come out of the moka pot, and of course sugar. Best if custard sugar, actually, as it makes for a smoother consistency. tell you some tips. First of all, it is not true that if the moka pot is dirty, it will make for a better tasting coffee. This is quite a famous myth in Italy. At the same time, do not wash it with washing up liquid. Also, if you use hot water instead of cold, the coffee should come out less bitter. Another tip is to use a kitchen towel to handle the bottom part of the moka pot, as this will be very, very hot once we put the boiling water, of course. Now, as you'll be able to see in a second, I'm only going to pour the water just under the valve. To put too little water will result in a very bitter coffee, and too much water, very runny, watery, acidic kind of coffee. Now, the quantity of coffee is also very important, obviously. In Naples, it's tradition to kind of form a sort of little mountain, they call it. But others say it is enough to just fill up the filter. Either way, one thing you want to make sure not to do is to press the coffee, as this will already be done by the top part of the coffee pot. The Moka pot works thanks to a very interesting mechanism. Basically, the water that's in the bottom part will boil, and make it evaporate, and then the pressure will help the water go through the coffee in the filter and out through the funnel, brewing a thick, velvety, dark nectar. I have been told that in Naples it is tradition to drink coffee with sugar. Some add sugar right into the moka pot before the coffee comes out, and some put the entire content of the pot in a different serving pot and add sugar to that. And then, of course, there are some who likes to make this sweet emulsion of coffee and sugar, and to add a teaspoon of it in the cup before pouring the coffee. We set the heat on a low setting, and I'm keeping the lid open, even if there are many myths on why this makes for a better coffee. The main known reason for doing this is so that you can see when it's time to take the pot off the stove, or indeed you can see the first drops coming out, which is important if you're making cremina. To make cremina, we need to add double the amount of teaspoons of sugar that a moka pot makes into a small bowl. So in this case it's going to be 6 teaspoons of sugar, as this moka pot makes 3 cups. Then, as you saw, we will get the first drops of coffee, which are the strongest and the ones with the most crema, and we'll need to pour them into the sugar. Then we need to stir quite vigorously with circular movements until we form a thick, creamy emulsion. as you saw, we put the pot back onto the stove for a few moments, and when you start hearing this sort of gurgling sound, what you want to make sure of doing is to take the pot off the stove immediately and let it finish on a different surface. The reason for this is because if we let it continue pouring out the coffee on the stove, whilst on the stove, we will end up with the most watery part of the coffee, and possibly even with some coffee granules. We don't want that. This is the thick, creamy consistency the cremina needs to have, as I was saying. It's also better to stir the coffee whilst it is still in the pot, as again the strongest coffee came out first. Okay, now we're ready to pour 1 teaspoon of this sweet, delicious cremina into the cup. And add the coffee. Serve the coffee with a glass of still water. It is good to have a sip of water also before the coffee, so to kind of cleanse your palate and allow you to taste the coffee fully. It's also nice to serve it with something tiny and sweet, like these Italian chocolate wafers that you see. But in general, I would recommend something with chocolate or cinnamon. And there you go. Enjoy your perfect Italian homemade